Finding loving homes for cats in our care at the earliest opportunity is really important to us. Reducing the length of stay while decreasing the incidence of URI is often a challenge. But with an open selection program, Dane County Humane Society was able to do just that. How did this come about? We began by identifying issues with our current practices that we thought could be alleviated through the implementation of open selection. Up until last year, Dane County had a stray holding period of 7 days. During the stray hold, cats were placed in pre-adoptable housing that was closed to the public. It often became filled to capacity and incidence of disease was high. We struggled to find enough isolation space to treat all of our upper respiratory cases, and often left several active cases in the general population to be treated there. In peak season, that wasn't always an option, and it led to euthanasia for some cats. On day 8, adoptable cats followed 3 different paths from pre-adopt. Move to adoptable, go to the vet clinic for spay-neuter to be made available for adoption on day 9, or move to isolation for URI treatment. It was very common for URI symptoms to start between day 7 and day 10, so even if a cat made it to adoptable or spay-neuter on day 8, it was highly likely they would move to isolation shortly after that. This all meant that many of our stray cats stayed not only for the 7-day stray hold, but for URI treatment, meaning weeks in the shelter before potential adopters could even see them and select them for adoption. Here's how the new system works. Our admitting staff identifies what we call fast-track cats, to include kittens, young adults, and adults who appear to be in good health upon intake exam and are friendly and outgoing during the admitting process. These cats move directly to adoptable, allowing the public to meet them and place them on an adoption hold during their stray hold period. So that no fast-track cat gets left behind, if space in adoptable is limiting, we have the ability to open our pre-adoptable section to the public and cover the cages of any cats not yet ready to be available. During the planning process, we outlined which cats would not be included, those considered slow track. These are shy, fearful cats, any cat with a medical concern that admitting staff was adding to the medical board for a vet check, cats with hair loss pending culture results, and known pregnant cats. We created a new stage of available pending stray period in our data tracking system. Starting with available is what triggers those animals to be pulled onto our website as available for adoption. Adding pending stray period helps alert adoption staff and volunteers that the cat cannot yet go home. Crucial to the process is a cat rounds team who performs daily rounds tasks for tracking open selection candidates. They reassess stray cats who were not made open selection at time of intake and make them available prior to the end of their stray period if the issue noted upon intake has resolved. For example, a shy cat that has adjusted well and is now outgoing, a medical concern that was addressed and cleared by the vet, a senior exam was performed by the vet and cleared for adoption as space allows, FIV or FELV positive cats that have had a veterinary exam and been cleared for adoption, again as space allows. For every unaltered animal, upon intake, a spay-neuter surgery is scheduled in PetPoint, the software we use to manage our data. For strays, they are entered for the day the stray hold expires. Using a custom-built report, PetPoint delivers a list of all animals ready for spay-neuter on a given day via email to our medical services staff. The rounds team ensures that the scheduled dates are correct, and if a cat has an adoption hold, a note is added to the scheduled surgery notes. This helps ensure that medical staff will prioritize those animals scheduled to go home on a given day. There are finer points. For a cat that can't have surgery due to a medical concern, medical staff must alert adoption staff so they can communicate with the adopter. For a cat that can't have surgery on a given day due to URI, the adopter has the option to adopt the cat on treatment and return for spay-neuter at a later date at no cost to them. We have seen tremendous success with open selection, and we have charted evidence to back it up. Reduced intake is not what drove the reduction in length of stay, euthanasia, or decrease in the incidence of URI in the open selection program. After the first year of open selection, we saw our first significant length of stay decrease of 6.4 days, with a further reduction of 8.8 days over the next 2 years. As the program evolved and our systems became more efficient, we continued to chip away at the time these cats spent in the shelter. The year following implementation of open selection, euthanasia of treatable cats dropped to only 2 per year before finally reaching and maintaining adoption guarantee status. our save rate increased. Even though our intake has remained relatively constant year to year, we saw positive changes in our length of stay for stray cats, and that has had a very real impact on the incidence of URI in our shelter. The changes are not due to lower intake, but due to the fact that the cats coming in are going out faster. A year after the program started, intake was higher than the 2 previous years in August and September, but the number of incidents of URI at that time of year was significantly lower. It is not coincidental that this is the same time period in which we were able to reduce our euthanasia of treatable cats to only 2. As we became accustomed to the new processes, we began to include slow-track cats in the program as long as they had been cleared for adoption. We did not see any reason to hold them back from being seen by potential adopters, knowing it could take them longer to find a new home. If your shelter is struggling to find space and reduce the incidence of disease in your shelter, try an open selection program. We found it to be a win-win-win for our shelter, the adopters, and most of all, the cats that are now in loving new homes.